Namaskam Savitanyena Bhutale Swayambhuva Karamaya Divantika Purantikam. First of all, I offer my most humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Diksha and Shiksha Guru, Nitya Parishta Om Vishnu Pad Asatara Tapasvi Maharaja, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Can you make it louder?
Hare Krishna. Then I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Asatara Tapasvi Maharaja, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha Gurus, Srila Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Akshara Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Daitya Madhav Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. I offer my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are present here today, headed by Srila Bhaktivedanta Tapasvi Maharaja and Bhaktivedanta Shanta Maharaj. My Dandavat Pranams to one. Hare Krishna. I was remembering one pastime that Srila Gurudev used to tell during Kartik in Govardhan. And he used to talk about how, and he talks about it in his book, when the cowherd boys would go to Bandirvan. In Bandirvan, I think Gurudev actually built one about around the Bandirvat tree. He built one sitting place there in Vrindavan. He paid for it. So he used to talk about this pastime. There were several pastimes that took place there, but in particular, you know, when Krishna used to go there with all the cowherd boys, and I'm shortening all of this because usually I tell this long, but we're here to listen to Sri Tapasvi Maharaja. So, at any rate, when the cowherd boys would go there, they would be sitting together, taking lunch together, and the cows would wander off into Munjavan. And when the cows wandered off into Munjavan, the creepers were very thick there. They used to like to eat those big, thick, juicy leaves from the creepers, but they would get stuck in the creepers. So they started mooing and braying and alerting, you know, signs of distress. So the cowherd boys left their lunch to go and help the cows get out from Munjavan. And they also got stuck. So at that time, one demon that Kamsa sent, the fire demon, he set fire to the forest in the hopes that Krishna would come and then he would kill Krishna as well under the order of Kamsa. So Krishna comes when he hears the cowherd boys crying, "Please help, please help." And he comes there and he sees the forest fire everywhere. And so he realizes what he has to do to deal with this forest fire. So he tells the cowherd boys, "Okay, close your eyes." Of course, there's two meanings to this. One is that Krishna had decided he was going to swallow the fire, and that would have been very frightening for the cowherd boys to watch him swallow the entire fire. But he also knew that if he swallowed the fire, that the cowherd boys would all tell Mother Yasoda that he swallowed the fire. And the last time when they complained about him eating dirt, and Mother Yasoda looked inside his mouth and she saw the universal form, and then she thought the ghosts had come because she's so deeply absorbed in her Vatsalya Bhav that, you know, she couldn't accommodate the idea that Krishna was God and that the universe was inside his body. So she calls the Brahmins, and the Brahmins, you know, they do all these mantras, and they pour Panchagavya on top of Krishna's head, and, you know, so Krishna's saying, I don't want to stand there, and they're going to pour the yogurt and the butter and the ghee and everything all over my head, and the cow urine and the cow dung, and I don't want that. Close your eyes. Don't see. So the cowherd boys close their eyes. Krishna swallows the fire. And then he tells them to open their eyes. So, when he tells them to open their eyes, they're back in Bandirban. And they're sitting in front of Krishna eating lunch. So they're starting to think, were we in Mandirban? Did we ever go there? Was there a forest fire? Maybe we dreamed it, maybe we imagined it, maybe it wasn't real. So Srila Gurudev, he says, this is what it will be like when you achieve realization of your Swarup and your internal spiritual relationship with Krishna. You'll look back on all of these material pastimes and the different bodies that you had in the material world, and it'll be like, was I there? Did I actually live through that? It'll just be like a dream. Prabhupada said a similar thing. He said sometimes at night you dream you're a king, or you're being eaten by a lion, and you're this or you're that. And he said when you're dreaming in real time, it seems very real. He said, but when you wake up in the morning, he said all the dreams run past your mind very quickly. And then they're gone. He said, similarly, when you wake up and realize your original spiritual form, then all these past incarnations that you had will just pass by very quickly like that, and it will be finished. So, this is position, coming to this position of waking up to our spiritual form, to our Swarup, comes at the juncture between Asakti and Bhav. And at that point, we start to have a vision of that, and then by the aid of our Shiksha or Bhajan Shiksha Guru, or Shiksha Guru or Bhajan Shiksha Guru, we are able to realize our original spiritual form, and we transition into Bhav. And then there we have to cultivate to the point of training. So, this, I've talked about this before, I've explained this in the past, about consciousness. That consciousness emanates from the soul. This is in the 13th chapter of the Gita, verse 34. Just like the sun is in one place in the universe, so the sunshine is everywhere. Similarly, the soul is within the subtle body, in the Anhat chakra, in the area of the heart, and it broadcasts consciousness throughout the subtle and gross body. And so, on the subtle body, we have material impressions, like people trying to become perfect in a particular activity. The story of Prabhupada, we asked Prabhupada, how did Ravi Shankar play the sitar so well? He said he's been doing it for 7 births. So it takes so many births to develop the qualifications to achieve your particular material goal. And those impressions are on your subtle body. And you carry them, Vayurdandam Idashaya, just like The air carries the aroma, you carry those impressions with you to the next physical body. But on the consciousness, as you're cleaning the mirror of the mind, as you're cleaning the consciousness, Jacob Dorfin and Marjanam, so the impressions of Bhakti Sukriti are impressed on the consciousness because they're eternal. Material impressions are temporary. When your subtle body dissolves, then those impressions also dissolve. But the spiritual impressions of your Bhakti Sukriti are on your consciousness, and they're eternal, and they're carried with you from birth to birth. So, it's important to remember and understand these things, and why in this human form of life we're supposed to be paying attention to our bhakti activities, and not desiring or wishing for material happiness or material pleasures either in this life or the next. This comes in the commentaries on the 930 Apichetsudaracharo. There are many commentaries on this verse, and they all make the same point. Those who are Ananya Bhaktas, one-pointed, on the path of devotion and service, and they see Krishna as the only goal, and they don't have any other desire. Even if they commit horrible acts, still they'll become righteous by the process of bhakti. But you have to be one-pointed. No demigod worship, no other worship, only Krishna worship. No desires for material happiness. You have to be one-pointed. Even if you make mistakes in that condition, then still Krishna sadhureva samantha. Of course, we shouldn't abuse the verse. Prabhupada says at the end of the purport in his commentary that people who do that, they're not considered very high-grade devotees. So we shouldn't take advantage. But these are just some things I wanted to talk about tonight. Now, Shanta Maharaj, Tapasvi Maharaja. Thank you.
Let's take something first. Om Agyanam Chitarindasya Gyananjaya Salakaya Shakshilo Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. So today is Ekadasi, and I was thinking of something to say. Then I have this book, Prema Vibhavata, and in it, Srila Jagannatha Pandit had elaborated a lot of, points, especially when Srila Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, and he was observing Ekadasi. So I would like to read this for everybody to see what Ekadasi is, so that we will be faster. One day, Lord Gauranga went to Gondicha. Anyway, the Lord went to Gondicha temple. From Gondicha, he went from there to a place that he was staying in Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, and sat among his followers. And out of them, there were so many devotees who were from Jagannath Puri, the Vaishnavas from Jagannath Puri. Many of them were surrounding the Lord. And the Lord said, all of you should observe refrain from eating and sleeping, and constantly chant Krishna's name. Some of you should chant japa. Some of you should circumambulate the temple and prostrate with prostrated obeisances, and others should discuss the pastimes of Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna. Everyone became spiritually surcharged by the Lord's instructions and busied themselves with different activities, chanting Govinda, and they felt intoxicated with praying. Suddenly, Sri Gopinath and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they came there. And what did they bring? This was on the day of Ekadasi. And they were not told anything. So they brought a lot of Jagannath Prasad and rice, different types of sards, and a lot of, cakes. And they said here also yogurt, a lot of, So when Mahaprabhu saw this situation, he had already instructed the disciples, everybody should fast and not sleep throughout the day. And this you can see if you go to many places in India, especially in South India, in the temple of our devotee, Bhaktivedanta, what's his name? No, not Bhaktivinath. The other one. Dandi Maharaj. Dandi Maharaj temple. People will not sleep for the whole night. And they will invite me, and I'll be there for some time. I said, thank you, I'm going. But yes, they will not sleep until the next day. They will, do Mangalati, and then stay there for Prashadam, and then they will leave. So, but here, just on the day of Ekadasi, a lot of Prashadam was brought from Jagannath temple. So what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, he asked all the devotees to prostrate, and pay their obeisances to the Prashadam. And they did that. And for them to leave, they didn't leave Prashadam alone. They just put Prashadam in the center. And they chanted all day, all night, honoring Prashadam by chanting. And so the next day, the devotees asked the Lord that they should go and take bath. After they came back, then they all sat down and ordered this Prashadam. But this intrigued many of the devotees. So they asked questions. And the questions they asked, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said, Sri Haridas, that is Ekadasi, is considered to be the most important vrata, that is vow for fasting. It is to be observed by maintaining complete fast without sleeping at night. We also know that Lord Jagannath Mahaprasad must be respected at all times in Purushottama Kshetra. It should be honored by eating it immediately upon receiving it. Therefore, we find ourselves in a dilemma as to how to honor Prashadam on Ekadasi. Please tell us unequivocally the conclusions of the scriptures on this subject in a manner that will convince every spiritual stalwart like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. This will dispel our disquietude. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu answered, to not observe complete fasting on Ekadasi will greatly endanger one's spiritual life. Honor Prashadam on Ekadasi only by offering eat obeisances and eating it the next day. So if you have prasadam cooked and you have been offered, you go to any temple, you get prasadam, you can keep. You have to honor it by offering obeisances to it, but you don't eat grains on Ekadasi. You keep it the next day, you can break your fast with it. In this way, one must easily cross this material ocean. The fast is anyway over on the following day. There's some mistake there. All Vaishnavas, beloved associates of the Supreme Lord, are very pleased when Ekadasi is properly observed by simply relishing the nectar of Lord Krishna's holy name. So on Ekadasi, we should make it a point observing, that Ekadasi, chanting as much as possible. If we chant 16 rounds normally, we should actually increase it to maybe 32. If we are chanting 32, we can increase it to 64, to 80 rounds, to 128 rounds a day. With this, we can easily do. So, we can easily do 128, can't we?
Sure, Maharaj.
So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now, I'm being given time up. So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not there. The non-Vaishnavas, without control, offer only. I can't read. Okay, the non-Vaishnava, without control, offer only lame excuses for not honoring Mahaprasadam, or for honoring Mahaprasadam on Ekadasi. So many times you go to the temples and you see everybody eating Ekadasi preparation. And they said, but why are you eating? They said, oh, but this is Mahaprasadam. And sometimes also on Janmastami and so forth, you go to some temples and they cook all the preparations and you see devotees eating. And say, but today is Ekadasi. No, but today is Lord Krishna's appearance day. Ekadasi is not important. But this is also important. So we should observe Ekadasi on normal Ekadasi days, on Krishna Janmastami, on all the appearance days of the Vishnu Tattvas. So, please, I would have liked to say more, but my time is up. If not that. Hare Krishna.
Your time isn't up, Maharaj, you're still living. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulimitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I offer my satsang pranams to my beloved masters, Nitya Leela Pravishna Om, Vishnu Padastotra Satya Shri His Divine Grace Shri Gaur Govinda Maharaj. To Nitya Leela Pravishna Om, Vishnu Padastotra Satya Shri His Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. To Nitya Leela Pravishna Om, Vishnu Padastotra Satya Shri His Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And to Nitya Leela Pravishna Om Vishnu Padastotra Satya Shri His Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, to all our Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Hare Krishna Dandavats. So today, as we know, is Ekadasi, On every Ekadasi, Maharaj would tell one story without fail. That how Ekadasi Devi, she saved Krishna. One demon came and wanted to kill Krishna. But actually Ekadasi Devi, she saved Krishna. So she was known as the greatest sevak. That means that she did the greatest service to Krishna when she wasn't asked to do anything. She did something. So what Maharaj would say that is that the best sevak, they know already what to do. How do they know already what to do? Yes, their heart is the same as Gurudev. They're tadatmik. Yeah, their heart is one. So yesterday we were talking about Srila Bharati Maharaj and being connected, being able to hear inspiration, guidance. And that's only possible when one thing that Guru gives us the greatest gift. And what is that greatest gift? Does anybody know? So many things he's given, but there's a foundation, and that is seva. He's given us seva. Because through seva, we're connected. Otherwise, spiritual life becomes a little bit sentimental. That we want to have a relationship, a connection with Gurudev, but that's based upon how I believe Gurudev should be reciprocating with me. So, when we do seva, it is more about what is pleasing to Gurudev. And through that seva, he reveals in our heart what he wants to communicate. When I was with Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj, we were doing Padayatra in Orissa. And I was talking to Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj, and he was talking about seva. We were asking about who can do this seva. And one devotee, he said, "Oh Maharaj, I'll do that seva." But that devotee had only just recently come back from the Western world, where he had become disconnected to Krishna consciousness, although he was a disciple of Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj. And Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj said, "You're not qualified for seva." And that really struck me. Because often we think, oh, seva, I'm kind of doing the temple a favor. I'm going to do some seva for the temple to help them out. That I'm somehow or other going to give my energy, I'm going to contribute, and it's very good of me to engage in some seva for the temple, to help the temple.
I don't know if Arjuna likes where this is going, Maharaj.
Okay, well, I don't know the internal politics, so I'll keep going.
No, there's no politics. You can do that.
Fine. So this struck me, that actually there I was thinking, seva is kind of like automatic in one sense. You come to the temple and you engage in seva, and you do seva. But it made me really think that how precious seva is. That it is a gift that we're given by Gurudev. As soon as we come in contact with Gurudev, with the Vaishnavas, they ask us, they request us to do some seva. And that seva is our link, to stop everything becoming sentimental. And it is a way, it is a guide through which we also can see, how am I progressing on the path of spiritual life? So many times with Srila Bharati Maharaj, devotees would come and say, "Oh Maharaj, I want to do seva." And then you would say to them, "Okay, well, what kind of seva do you want to do?" And they say, "Any seva I'll do for Maharaj." And so then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, 9 days. And then there was some obstacle that came. Something happened in their life or in the environment, or there was something happened, and then there would be a chance to step up. Because most of the time our savor is for our pleasure. It's an interesting thing when we look at purpose. When we look at purpose, if you say the purpose of life is pleasure, then that purpose is a very fleeting kind of purpose, because pleasure, as we know, comes and goes. But when we have a purpose to serve Gurudev, something transforms, something happens very different. And that is, with that purpose, we start to understand that I am not the center. Difficulty is, a lot of the times, we believe that we are the center. You see that I was in Mexico, and there was a big football rally, and everybody was supporting Mexico. Now, why are they so for Mexico? Is because they were born in Mexico. And what often happens is we take that same ego, that same false ego, and we bring it to spirituality. My group is the best. Why is my group the best? Because I'm in it. I'm in this group, so it must be the best. And everybody else's group, I can tolerate them, but they're not actually the best. So when we start to practice spiritual life, many things come up. And we begin to see that there's a purpose that is bigger than me. And as soon as we start to see that this point, that there's something bigger than me, then what happens, we start to become less self-absorbed. There's a saying, what is it called? The entitlement mentality. I'm entitled to these things. So, seva, it's often, you can see seva in so many different ways, but often it's a way to be able to see that, okay, I've come to a certain place in my spiritual practices, and am I now able to put myself no longer in the center, but to put Gurudev in the center, to act for his pleasure. And this is what actually the stages of bhakti are. As we begin, as we practice, we're putting ourselves less and less in the center. So we all need hope. Without hope, it's very hard to practice spiritual life. But without some humility, then we become stuck. Humility means seeing a bigger purpose. For example, I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody is pregnant, lady is pregnant, okay, and she has the child is sick. But she has a problem because she doesn't have so much money. And she is having an argument with her sister. So she's got an argument with her sister, and the sister has some money. But she won't ask the sister for money. Why? Because of her pride. She's thinking, I will not ask. But the child is in danger, but still she won't ask. But when she sees a bigger picture, that actually, no, my child is sick. If I don't take care of my child, then there will be a problem. So she's then able to bridge that gap. She's then able to ask her sister. Because the issue that she's having with her sister now becomes secondary. And what becomes primary is to save the child. You understand that example? So why am I saying that example? Because of purpose. When we don't have purpose, our secondary things become our primary things. The difficulties that we face, the difficulties of maybe working together, those difficulties become more important. And we don't see the higher purpose, and we don't put the higher purpose above ourself. It's interesting, in Bhagavad Gita, in the 12th chapter, Krishna gives different gradations of spirituality. He says first, what does he say in the 12th chapter, 12:8? He says, first remember me, only remember me, just meditate on me. So he's talking like on the Raganug stage, always remember me, always think of me. Next stage, what does he say? If you can't remember me, then do sadhana, practice remembering me. It's also interesting that Krishna says, use your intelligence. So use your intelligence, remember me, and do sadhana bhakti. Then the third stage, he says, after, if you can't do that, then just hear about me. Hear about me all the time. And then if you can't do that, he gives the sort of lower level. He says, just be selfless. Just do something for other people. So, this principle of being selfless is integral to our spiritual practices. And that comes in two forms. We can be self-sabotaging to ourselves. We can have a difficult time, and in that difficult time we self-sabotage ourselves. If you have a car, and I'm going from here to the temple, and I decide halfway through the car's not working very well. So I get out of the car, I look around, I find a huge boulder, I take that boulder and I smash the car. This car is not working. It's a useless car, and you smash it. The car is dead. So your way to get to the temple now has gone. It's no longer that car is going to take you to the temple. So in the same way, when we self-sabotage ourselves, when we face obstacles, when we face our own purification, and then we start to believe that I become hopeless, like Gurudev talks about, becoming hopeless. When I start to become hopeless about the only vehicle through which is going to take me on that path to Jagannath Puri, then we start becoming hopeless, and then we are breaking the only vehicle, the only thing that we have that can take us on that path. So when we have seva, it's undoubted, it's guaranteed that we will face obstacles. And those obstacles, you see, we misunderstand sometimes pain. Pain is not meant just like pain is a pointer. Like when you burn your hand, what happens? Ow. Okay, that hurt there. I've got to, don't do that again, and get some bandage. So pain is a pointer. So when we experience difficulties, tribulations on the path of seva, the point of it is to make us conscious. Because when you're sleeping and snoring, and when everything, like Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj says, we're on the path to Jagannath Puri. But when are you sleeping and snoring, he would ask. Have we become, he used this particular word, callous. Have we become callous, like thick-skinned? Have we become disinterested? Not even disinterested, but disassociated. Have we become callous? So when we're going on that path, then there will inevitably be pain, because what Krishna promises is not that he's going to take the pain away. Krishna, if you read Bhagavad Gita, he never says one place, I'm going to take all your pain away. We might hope for that, but he doesn't promise that. What does he promise? Krishna promises a unsinkable boat. He says, if you take shelter of me, if you become conscious of me, in 18th chapter, I think it's text 35, Krishna is saying, if you become conscious of me, then I will carry you. But if through false ego you forget me, then you'll be stuck. So this is very integral, because you look at the life of Arjuna. I'm going to summarize Bhagavad Gita now in about 30 seconds. what happened? What changed Arjuna? Because you see, the whole aspect of Bhagavad Gita is what? In order to get to Goloka Vrindavan, we've got to go through Kurukshetra. Okay, we've got to go through. Bhagavad Gita is a book of transformation. Bhagavatam is a book of transcendence. So in order to, we've got to work with Arjuna. What did Arjuna go through? How did he rise up? Because you look at the 13th chapter, all these, come to the mode of goodness. Come up, come up, come up. He's always encouraging. Krishna's encouraging. So he's telling Arjuna at the end. I'll summarize the Bhagavad Gita by the last verse. In the last verse, what is Krishna saying in the last verse? Have you got a Bhagavad Gita here?
He's saying, do what you want.
Do what you want.
Like I've told you all these things. Now you make the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have spoken.
Yes.
Deliberate. Deliberate on this. And do as you
Do as you wish. Okay. Very good. So we're going to go to the last verse. See if I can read it. 18.
last verse, I think it's from Jaya saying.
That's it, Maharishi, that's it. Yes, okay. I can hardly read it, but I'll just read the translation.
Yeah.
Okay. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. So 2 words here is Dhanudhar, the carrier of the bow. So we must know, most of you may know, what does the bow signify? Determination. What happened? At the beginning, Arjuna lost his determination. He was like, I can't fight, that's it. And his tool through which he works in life. See, there's 2 levels. There is foundational level, and there is functional level. So we have a functional level. So Arjuna's functional level was he was a warrior, and his foundational level is that he's a devotee. So his Dhanudhar, he was supposed to pick up his bow, and at the end of Bhagavad Gita, he picks up his bow. So what through the whole Bhagavad Gita, what is it that makes him pick up his bow? So you've heard the whole Bhagavad Gita. What changed Arjuna?
He wanted to please Krishna.
He wanted to please Krishna? Yes. I mean, these are all correct answers. But when he picked up his bow, that instead of looking down, as in towards the problems that he was facing, he looked up. And this is what essentially Bhagavad Gita is teaching, is that when we face difficulties in this life, we tend to look down, we tend to look into the problem, and we get stuck in that problem. But what Krishna was telling Arjuna was, look up, look towards me. And when you look towards me, then I see, what Krishna says, I see the future and I plan the present. And what do? We plan the present.
Not plan the future.
Huh?
Plan the future.
Plan the future.
See the present.
Yes. Krishna is seeing the future and planning the present. So what happens when we do seva is sometimes we become frustrated because my plan isn't working according to what I think it should be working. And therefore we become frustrated and we end up in a dungeon. Our mind becomes like a dungeon. It becomes dark. We close it, it becomes closed down, and we become stuck.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Thank you. So it becomes like a dungeon. But Krishna is saying, actually, we want to make it like a tunnel. We want to see through. We want to see through to the other side. So seva, what I was talking about pain, do you remember? What was I saying?
Krishna didn't promise to take away the pain.
What does he promise?
He'll deliver us from sinful reactions.
Yes, he promises us an unsinkable boat.
Right.
I'm just putting it in modern terms because, you know, if you say, well, freedom from sinful reactions, it's true. But he promises us, by remembrance of Guru and him, an unsinkable boat. And what was I saying about pain? See, I'm not going to let you all go to sleep. I'm sorry. What am I saying about pain? What did I say pain is? Pain is a pointer. What does it point towards? What is it helping us towards?
Identifying the problem.
Gaura's in the front. He's got all the answers. He's like identifying the problems. It means when we face pain, as in difficulty in life, that's basically saying, become conscious, wake up! As Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj would say, Jeev Jago, wake up, wake up. Because in awakening up, we become conscious, and then we become aware. And that is, when we become aware, then Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj gives the example of why don't we change. And he gives a very profound explanation, and that is because we don't want to. And that's what I was saying about seva to begin with. When we're just practicing spirituality without following principles and chanting, it becomes sentimental and we can't kind of see where I am. And with some kind of boundary, okay, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to go, and I kind of stop. It helps us to see, not as in a self-defeating, like we get the stone and smash the car, and it's like, oh, I'm not able to do this, so let me leave. So Srila Bharati Maharaj explains that there are 3 trees on the river, on the bank of the Ganga. And those 3 trees are getting the same water, same air, same soil as each one of them. But they all hold on to their nature. There's the mango tree, the neem tree, and the peepal tree, is it? So that they don't change their nature. So then Maharaj gives the example of what? Have you heard of grafting? When you change, you know, the sour mango becomes a sweet mango when you graft it. And Maharaj is saying, when Sukadev Goswami came to sit in front of all the sages, why did they accept him? Because they could see that he had a soft heart, that he had a soft nature. His heart had become so softened that they could just see, oh, this is the right person. So that's what Maharaj was saying, is that the Diksha, the disciple, he softens his heart so Gurudev can work on his heart. But what happens so much to us is that we get in a situation and we feel resentful, or we blame. And look at the story of Maharaj Cricket. When that snake was put around his neck, he put around the snake of the sage, and he was cursed, what did he do? He didn't blame. It's interesting, if you look at his life, he had all reason to blame because it wasn't proportionate. The curse that he got for what he did was not proportionate. But what did he do? See if you can remember. Yes.
He saw it as a blessing.
He saw it as a blessing, but what did he actually do? What did Parikshit Maharaj do?
He asked what is the best duty for someone,
And what did you say the second part?
and left, went to the forest.
But what did he do? Yeah, he went to the forest, but he just didn't go to the forest and go, okay, that's it, I finished. He went to the sages. So that is one of the teachings of Maharaj Cricket, is that you see, this is in the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, so it's basically saying we're going to face problems. And in those problems, we're going to blame other people. If we don't blame other people, we're going to blame ourselves. Because when we blame others, we're angry at others. When we blame ourselves, that's called depression. From depression, we go into feelings of insecurity, and then from more anger towards ourselves, we go into suicide. So actually, anger, when it's internalized, goes in that direction, and anger, when it's externalized, goes towards the other person. So, so we want to be careful of anger. We want to be careful of anger before it burns us, because that's what anger does, it burns us. And now, Parikshit Maharaj, as I said, what does he do? He sees the opportunity in a bad situation. Again, Parikshit Maharaj is who? Who is attacking the bull?
It doesn't identify.
Huh?
It doesn't identify.
Very good.
No.
Okay.
Those who identify the perpetrator of the act are just as guilty.
Very nice. Nice to have you in the front here. Yes, that he says, Bull says, I don't know. I don't know who's doing it. But there's Kali Maharaj right in front of him, about to beat him, and he says, I don't know. So that means the Bhagavatam starts off trying to bring us immediately to a deeper level. Looking not just on the superficial outside of our life and what's going on, but to bring us to a deeper level of how to see the world. How to see the world. And that is Parikshit Maharaj. He saw the situation, and then he reached out to his well-wishers. He reached out to his well-wishers. But what often happens is that, look at the story of Mantara. You know Mantara? What did Mantara do? She tricked Kaikeyi. How did she trick Kaikeyi? Through disinformation. She fed the wrong information to Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi became really angry because through feeding of that she became weak. That old pain that was there between her and Kaushalya came up again. So easily in life we hear information about others. We hear gossip, when we hear something bad about something, when we hear something bad about someone that we don't like. This is actually what is the teaching of Mantara, is that don't talk about people, talk to people. When we talk about people, then what happens is disinformation comes. And then there is what happens. Dasarath's heart was broken. Ram was sent away. So I'm saying this is because we will be faced with situations where we are challenged. And how, what I was in Bhagavad Gita, Dharanidhar, that Krishna, that Arjuna stands up and is able to grab the bow because he looks up. He looks up towards Krishna and understands that Krishna, whatever my life may bring me to, Krishna will get me through. Okay? Whatever my life or my karma will bring me to, Krishna will get us through it. And he has that unsinkable boat. And that's why I'm saying he doesn't promise us relief, as in things are going to change. Look at the Pandavas. So many problems. So their life, in one sense, didn't change, but they got relief by remembering, looking up. And what is the second word in this verse? Yogeshwar. Yogeshwar means the supreme master of mystic. So why did Arjuna call Krishna Yogeshwar? He calls him Yogeshwar in another place. Does anybody know? I'll give you a hint. It's somewhere in the middle. Huh?
It's
Chapter 6. What Yogeshwara, supreme mystic. What does Krishna do at one point when he's like, "Whoa, Krishna, that's amazing"? Universal form. Virat Roop. So he shows the Virat Roop, this universal form, and Krishna, and Arjuna is calling Krishna Yogeshwara at that time. But he's calling him Yogeshwara here. Why?
I don't know.
Come on, you must know.
because he changed heart of Arjuna.
Hmm?
Because he changed the heart of Arjuna.
Yeah, he changed the heart, but specifically he's calling Krishna Yogeshwara here because he knows that he's about to go into battle. And he knows it's going to be a really, really big challenge for him.
So he wants all mystic powers.
So he wants all the mystic powers, as in the sense of he wants to take shelter of that person who has all the mystic power. Because in the 11th chapter, there is Krishna at the universal form, Virat Roop. And do you remember that Krishna gave the choice? Do you want my army or do you want me? He gave that choice earlier on. And Duryodhana, he said, I want your army. And Arjuna said, I'll take you. And in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what's there? Krishna is chomping the whole army. He's eating everything. So that means everything is inside Krishna. And so therefore Arjuna, he wants Yogeshwara. He wants him who is the supreme mystic. And I know if that supreme mystic is on my side, and I look towards him, because what is the verse? I'm trying to keep everything connected here. Yata Yogeshwara Krishno Yata Parto Dhanudhara. So he's asking Krishna, oh, you're Yogeshwara, and I know you can do it. And I know by taking shelter of you, if I then hold my bow, I will look up to you. And in looking up to you, then you will make everything according to your plan. And that's what I was saying to begin with, is that we get frustrated with our plan because Krishna, he's seeing the future and he's adjusting the present according to what he sees. And by us becoming frustrated and crashing the car with the stone, that is not giving the space for Krishna's plan to move through. So when we have seva, it's an opportunity to keep that connection. The seva, what happens sometimes in seva, we feel that if we come too close to seva, then I might be trapped. We might be inconvenienced in some way. But Krishna and Guru, through seva, they are inspiring us that through that seva, I can take shelter. And in that shelter, Krishna will always be guiding us. So what's a really good example of that is, what time is it? I better end soon. 8:50. Okay. Our last point. What is the example? Is Krishna and Sudama. Why am I picking that example? Who can say? Krishna and Sudama. I'm talking about seva. I'm talking about obstacles. What happened in that pastime? Anybody remember?
It was raining and they served the Guru together, and because of that bond, he was able to ask Krishna in the future.
Okay, so we're not going to jump that far ahead, but what happens is that they're in the forest. Okay, they're with Gurudev, and Guru Ma says we need some firewood. So Krishna says, okay, I will go and get some firewood. So Krishna goes with Sudama into the forest to get firewood. And what happens?
It rains.
It starts raining. And then Krishna, whole night, is under the tree with Sudama. Whole night Krishna is under the tree with Sudama, and even though Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what is he doing? He's shivering. He's shivering underneath the tree.
On his head.
Huh?
He has the wood on his head.
He has the wood on
He
his
doesn't
head.
want it to get wet on the ground.
Very nice. He didn't want it to get so good, your hair, Gora. That he didn't want the wood to get wet, so he's holding the wood up. Hare Krishna. So Sudama and Krishna are there, and then what's Gurudev doing? What's Gurudev doing?
Worrying.
Worrying. Gurudev's worrying. He's worrying. What is happening to Sudama? What's happening to Krishna? And Gurudev's thinking of them. And in the morning, he goes and he finds them.
Cold, wet, and shivering.
Cold, wet, and shivering. But Krishna's showing here that what? Save, huh?
When you do seva, you're never alone.
When you do seva, you're never alone. But he's also showing, I'm doing seva. Gurudev needs something, so I'll do seva to Gurudev. Krishna himself is showing in that pastime of Krishna and Sudama, is that I will go out and serve Gurudev,
even if it hurts.
even if. But here's the wonderful thing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, those difficulties that I face, they become my pleasure. Why? And this is bringing it back to the whole beginning, is because of purpose. Because the Vaishnav sees the higher purpose. And therefore, the lower things that are agitating, the little insect bites or whatever it may be, they don't become so significant. Because he's seeing the higher purpose. So the disciple, he sees the higher purpose. Oh, Gurudev wants me to serve. And in doing this service, those difficulties, this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, they become my highest pleasure. Why do they become my higher pleasure? Because I'm focused on the purpose. Therefore, that may happen or this may happen, but this is my purpose. So without purpose, even in the material world, we're not going anywhere. Isn't it? If you don't have purpose, then you won't achieve anything in life. It's really quite simple. So yes, as I said, there's two levels. One is our functional, is in terms of what I do in this world. I have a functional purpose. Right? My work, my job, my activities. I'm a father, I'm a daughter, or I'm a husband, whatever. Those are our functional purposes, which we call Swadharma. We have a Swadharma. But we also have a Nitya Dharma. We have a foundational purpose. So when we understand there's a functional purpose and a foundational purpose, and my foundational purpose will feed my purpose in this world. And then when we understand that purpose that we have, oh, this is my purpose. What's the purpose of spirituality? The purpose of spirituality is to make spiritual life your purpose. The purpose of spirituality is what? To make spiritual life your purpose. So when we start understanding, oh, actually I have a foundational purpose, and that foundational purpose feeds into my functional purpose. And all the relationships I have in this world are feeding that foundational purpose. They're all coming from that foundational purpose. And therefore I don't start to look from someone to get something. I'm understanding there's a foundational relationship, and that feeds that. And that foundational purpose is moving through everyone. And then we are stopping our blaming. We stop being resentful. We hold resentment for years and years and years and wonder why I'm not growing in spiritual life. And it's because we're holding on to these, which start off as snow pebbles that turn into snow boulders that end into an avalanche. That we hold on to these things to be right. And even if we are right, but we make that between me and Gurudev. We hold that. So when I was saying Bhagavad Gita is a transformational book, that's what Arjuna was doing. He was letting go of his belief of what he thought was right, and he looked towards Krishna and understood, actually, there's Krishna's plan, he's got a plan. And that's very difficult for most of us to really accept, that Krishna has a plan. And that if I continually let go, what is that saying? Let go and let God. If I continually let go, then that plan starts to move through me. And my swadharma, my functional purpose, what I'm doing in this life, will then become infused through Krishna's plan, which is that foundational work. The same thing with Arjuna. He became infused. He was already a great archer. But that became infused. You see, spirituality, it infuses our work with purpose. That's what spirituality does. It actually takes material things and it infuses it with purpose. So that's what happened in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna infused purpose, a higher purpose, into Arjuna being an archer. He was just a great archer. But it infused purpose because, no, I'm going to fight now for Dharma. So with that higher purpose, he was able to reconcile everything. And that's how we reconcile things in life. When we face difficulties, we have three ways to go. We can either tolerate, we can either try to change the person or the situation, or we can walk away. But all of those need to be infused with a spiritual consciousness. If we do any of those with resentfulness, we'll end up just hurting ourselves and the other person. So, purpose. And seva gives us that purpose. And that seva is very rare. It's very rare that Gurudev comes and gives us some seva, and then we take up that seva, and that seva is our link to Gurudev, to Parampara. So, when Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj said that you are not qualified for seva. When something is rare, then you start to understand its value. When something's taken away from you, someone you love dearly is suddenly in an accident or something happens, then we begin to appreciate maybe that person. And sometimes there may be a devotee that we don't get along with, and then they pass away, and then we speak so much glorification of that devotee. But we could have actually spoken so much glorification of that devotee while he was there, rather than just when they've left. So we have these opportunities now to let go of so many things we hold on to and live that purpose that is Krishna's plan. So I don't want to make it too late. So in summary, I was talking about what? Who can just summarize it very succinctly? Whatever you got, one or two words.
It's not so much what you do, it's who you do it for.
It's not so much what you do, who you do for it. Yes. Very nice. Anybody else? Yes, bro.
We understand the higher purpose behind what we're doing and say, but then we'll be able to pass through all the difficulties that may be secondary.
That's it.
If we don't have a purpose, we'll be sidetracked.
Exactly. Very nice. Anybody else? Gora? Come on. Something that you got. Something that was meaningful for you.
Well,
I'm not just asking,
I'm still struggling with the seva part.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, I'm not qualified to do seva, but I do seva because I feel like I have to.
Okay.
It's like a duty.
Right.
It's like, I have to do what Gurudev wants me to do, even though I'd rather be home doing nothing and just staring at the wall. And that's what I want to do. But I'm going to give that up because Gurudev wants me to do this.
Yes, so you have a higher purpose. Gurudev, despite my condition, I want to serve you.
Yeah, but is
Yes.
that really a service?
Yes, that's really a service.
Okay, because I'm thinking like I don't have the mood for it. I'm like, oh, I have to do this today.
You see, that's what I was saying about to begin with, about humility. In humility, when we put ourselves as the center, it becomes about how I feel. You see, that's what narcissism is. When we're narcissistic, I'm not saying you're narcissistic, but I'm just saying what... in narcissism, in that we become the center of everything. And we become totally selfish. That's why I was saying in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, is at least don't be selfish.
Yeah.
So that when we become the center of everything, then it becomes very hard to do any kind of seva. But when we see, okay, I don't feel like it, but there's a higher purpose, which is Gurudev, and therefore I will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, as practicing devotees, we don't put so much emphasis on what is it going to feel like.
Yeah. Well, it always feels good afterwards, no matter what you do. No matter how weird it gets, in the end you're like, man, I feel really good.
I think you're your own best psychologist. Everybody else? Yes.
Srila Govardhan Maharaj would say, even if you can't cry for Krishna, cry that you feel the
Yes.
mood to cry for
That's
Krishna.
right. That's right. That's right.
Right.
He also said that if you go to a funeral, what will happen? He says even if you don't know the person, what will happen? You'll start crying. Why? Because everybody else is crying. So in the same way, association. There's a very simple formula. A, B, C, which is the foundation of spiritual life. A, B, C. A, association. B, books. Read the books. And C, chant. If you do A, B, C, read, association, books, chanting, you've got this foundational thing going on. But without that, the foundational thing is really hard. And then to function into our functional activity is very difficult. We need the foundation, and that foundation is fed through ABC. Whatever we do, ABC is going on. And that creates a solid platform through which when we do seva or when we have a job or whatever work we're doing, it's feeding that. So yes, association when we're crying.
If there's a mother and she's having to fight with her sister and she has a baby that's starving, she might have an argument with the sister, but if she thinks about her higher purpose, she'll resolve the argument with her sister and ask for money, and she'll take care of the baby.
That's it. That's it. Actually, our purpose, in many ways, of course, Gurudev's given us the highest purpose, but I'm just talking simply, our purpose in one sense is to develop a soft heart. That's actually, if you look at the stages of bhakti from sadhu sangha to ruchi, it's all stages of softening the heart. That's all it is. Is the heart becoming softer and softer and softer. So that's our barometer. Is that, am I making my heart softer in spiritual practices? Okay, last one, because otherwise...
I think it was Srimati Shamrani Devi. She was talking very heavy in a class that if you're not chanting and doing sadhan bhajan, then your seva is meaningless. Have you ever heard anything like this?
Well, that Shamarani is right to say that. Shamarani Devi is right to say that. I find when I travel, a lot of devotees are not chanting, and a lot of devotees are struggling in different ways. So, Gurudev told me my purpose was to encourage the devotees. So it's definitely true that is our foundation, and that's important to work by. But there's a word in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu which is called Udipan, and that means spiritual stimulus. We want to actually find what stimulates us spiritually. Some people just don't have any taste for chanting Hare Krishna, and you can just say, well, if you don't chant Hare Krishna, you're going to hell. But that's not going to change them. You know, so if we find something that we like to do within the scope, if you've got two circles, one is spirituality and one is me. And where we cross, there is a, what's that middle piece called?
Venn diagram.
Venn diagram, is it? The middle part.
Intersection.
Intersection. Where that intersection comes, that's where we can practice spiritual life from. We can find, I like to play mridanga, so let me just go and play mridanga. And so we need to find something that we like to do, and then when we feel like walking away, we've got something that we can go into our pocket and say, I like to do that, I'm going to do that.
And it gave us 9 limbs, hearing, chanting,
That's right.
remembering, thank God for 9.
Actually, there's 64. That's right. That's right. That's right. There's 64 limbs, and we need to find something, whatever it is, that, like, you know, you'll see with addicts. You'll see with addicts is there's what makes them go down or what makes them go up. Okay, what makes them go down is what everybody is standing on is an uncomfortable feeling. We all feel uncomfortable in this world. What makes them go down is that they have old habits that they are habituated to, that they go to get out of the pain. What does a devotee do? He goes, he discerns, mode of goodness, he's discerning, and he has a habit that he likes to do that brings him up to spiritual experience. So rather than an experience that brings me down, and I know something and I go down to it, there's something I like to do spiritually, and it brings me up. And I know what that is. I know what it is. I know what it is. Just like the addict knows what takes him away and gives him some temporary pleasure. He knows. So we also really need to identify and know what is it. Because when those times come, then we're ready. Because we only have maybe 2 seconds, isn't it? Maybe 3 if you're lucky. Of like, okay, I'm going.
Yes. I just want to put out the other side, and I think Santa Maharaj was there also when, I think it was in March of 2010. And Ishabaru asked that question, can we advance by just doing say without Harinam and Gurudev flat out? It was about as affirmative as you could see. No. So there's the absolute, which is there. Sometimes they speak in absolute terms in order to encourage in that way. And also then there's the other side where we try to encourage in a relative way because we are so far away from the goal that we want to encourage everyone. So really,
the point
you can
is,
answer that. You can answer that question.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yes, exactly.
or whether
That's right. The point is the intention of the speaker. If the intention is, don't worry, you don't have to chant Hare Krishna, it'll be okay. Just, you know, whatever. But if the intention of the speaker, it's not how you say it, but the point is how to get the point across. And what's the point? Is to encourage and to lift up and to chant.
So there's
I can see this is a hot topic now.
there is many a times devotees set very lofty goals for themselves. I want to do maybe 16 or 34 rounds when you know you can do it. So I noticed Gurudev when he came, and many people have used this against him. And he asked devotees, are you chanting? He said, oh, okay, you're not do 4 rounds. Do 8 rounds. Now, Gurudev is not saying you should not do 16 rounds or 64 rounds. He says, do these rounds, set a goal for yourself. Now, this is your goal. Now, you are doing sadhana. When you reach that goal, use that goal as your sadhana and, set another goal. You're chanting 16 rounds, and you want to chant 64, but you've not reached 16 yet. So set 16 goals, 16 rounds for your goal, then from there 32, then 64, then gradually. But if you set it too much high, you'll be overwhelmed. You'll be overwhelmed. You say, I'm not doing anything. this is not working for me. I'm leaving. So in that case, you don't have.
I think we'll just let Bhagavat Maharaj speak something, then we'll conclude, because otherwise we'll be having breakfast here.
Well, you were talking about the 12th chapter.
Okay.
And you were talking about how the first platform is spontaneously thinking of me. If you can't do that, practice thinking of me,
Yes.
which is sadhana bhakti.
Yes.
In Prabhupada's commentary on the next verse, he says, and if you can't do sadhana bhakti, if you can't do Vaidhi bhakti, then just work for me. And I saw in my time with Srila Prabhupada that he did that with people, even with me, who had a difficulty in chanting their rounds every day. Garga Muni was collecting thousands and thousands of dollars to build Mayapur. And when Prabhupada made him the GBC to give the money, then devotees were complaining he doesn't chant. Prabhupada said, don't worry about it. He said, just go downstairs and pretend for a little while so they'll be quiet. He said, I want you to collect money for Mayapur. In other words, he didn't, and he even said to me, I was trying to get out of working in Bhubaneswar with Gorgovind, and he said, I told him, I said, I'm not chanting my rounds. He said, well, I see that you work very hard. He said, sometimes when you work hard, you don't chant all your rounds.
He says, if you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me.
Yeah.
Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage.
Right, you'll come to the platform. So that's there. But if you're in a position where you're already doing the 16th, and then you go slide backwards, that's not a very good position. It's certainly better to do something than nothing, but it would be, the idea is not to slide back. The idea is to keep going forward, to keep looking up, to keep raising the bow, and go to the higher platform. That's important, and if we shouldn't slide backwards. So there's two things, and what Prabhupada did for us, very new, young, raw street boys, was one thing what he did for us. And a lot of these young people are devotees already. They were born in devotee families, and they should be practicing bhakti from the platform of chanting,
Yes.
And so that's important.
Yes.
Time, place, circumstance, position, etc. All that has to be taken into account.
Definitely. And also, we don't want to become necessarily like the Catholic Church, full of guilt. Because the point is that yes, we want to chant, we want to lift it, we want to encourage each other to do that, definitely. Okay. Well done, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare
Jai Shri Pad Bhagavad Maharaj, Shanta Maharaj, Tapasvi Maharaja ki
Gaura Prabhu ki jai. Jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. So, a small announcement. Tomorrow, the Paran time is very short, less than 1 hour.
Whoa.
You have between 6:47
What if you can't get up
and
that early?
7:41. If you don't break your fast in that time, then you lose all the benefit of following Ekadashi.
What if we had on a call? What if we don't stay up all night?
It's true, Maharaj confirms.
Okay.
And you can also ask Ambarish Maharaj
Could you
about
have
it.
someone break? Could you have someone break Christ in your behalf? Somebody wants